All right, guys, my name is Dr. Sharnael Wolverton Sehan, and I am super, super, super excited about this one. I have to tell you, I'm a little happy about this one because The Office was a big game changer for me personally. Some of you know when I was dealing with the C word, not the new C, but the old C, and was reverse engineering my physical body to not have to go through all the weird treatments that are maybe more relative to most people on the Western side as far as chemo, radiation, that kind of stuff. For me, laughter was a big component of changing my body chemistry to keep me alive and on the planet. And so The Office turns out to be one of the big shows that I would just put on autoplay kind of through that whole year process for me, just to stay above the snake line and the good vibrations. And so Craig and I are here with Andy Buckley. Welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
I'm fantastic. I'm delighted to be here.
Yes. So
Thanks for having me.
kind of funny how this all happened. I love synchronicities and just how we get to land on connecting with people. But I was actually at a Matchbox 20 concert, and I think I've been 4 times now because I love their music and I just think they're super people. And we were in Ohio, my husband and I, and we were kind of in the front row. And so we can kind of see like what was going on in the back, and out pops David Wallace, aka the real Andy Buckley. And when I saw him over in the corner, I told my husband, I'm like, oh my God, that's Andy Buckley right there, like standing right there talking to Rob Thomas. And he was like, no, it's not. I'm like, it for sure is. Like, that is
That's an
100% him.
accountant.
Yes, and we had a little bit of an argument, and so I started taking pictures so I can merely zoom in to show my husband, who did not believe me. And at one point, I have a couple where he's directly looking at me and like even waving and like kind of like awkward. But later, I was definitely proven right and posted some of it on Instagram. And Andy reached out and was like, hey, send me pictures, or kind of gave a like or a thumbs up or whatever. And I said, hey, would you want to be on the podcast anytime and just talk about like art and comedy and music and how that is like a great vibration? And he agreed. Isn't that sweet to come on? So
Oh, I'm glad you asked.
thank you so much for being
Sweet
with
of you
us.
to ask.
Oh, well, Craig, I know.
Fellow Matchbox 20 fans.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure there's ton. I mean, who isn't a Matchbox 20 fan, or a Rob Thomas, or any of those guys are just great. How did you meet up with them? Like, I'm curious.
It's Rob who like I been buddies with him now. I think it's like 15 years almost. It's hard to find a nicer, sweeter, lovelier guy than him. Um, and I find that to be the case with uh, the half a dozen musicians, I guess, that I'm good pals with, whether they're famous or not. They're just all lovely and kind and sweet. And but this one, um, like this, how this happened was I watched him on Letterman. I mean, I'd been a Matchbox 20 fan, still am, etc. But he was on Letterman doing when it was a solo song, this beautiful song "Someday," which I just happened to like watch late one night at home. It was like 2009, 2010, and I was watching like, gosh, I love this. So what a beautiful song, like an uplifting song, I thought, and so I played it a lot that month, and like for my older son, who was, gosh, he was like 4 or 5 at the time, and anyway, jump ahead a month or two or something like that. I'm in New York, and there's this movie I got to be in called The Other Guys, big, great, fun comedy. With Will Ferrell, Mark Wahlberg, Michael Keaton, on and on, a bunch. And there's the big premiere, and I'm talking to someone in the lobby, and there across the lobby before the movie starts, I see Rob and Mari, who I um, I obviously don't, didn't know either of them. But I'm talking to someone, I'm like, holy crap. And I just mid sentence beeline right over to him and, hey, hey, I felt like, that SNL bit where Chris Farley goes, do you know you're Paul McCartney? Like I don't know if you guys know that. It's like a sort of a famous one. He's like, yeah. He says, isn't that cool? I go up to him like, hey, you're Rob Thomas. He's like, yeah. Yes, he has a very good sense of humor.
Anyway, see ya.
And I said, my name's Andy. He says, I know. He's a big comedy fan, big Office fan. He's like, I know who you are, Wallace. And I said to Mari, that's Wallace over there. We got to say hi. And that was sort of the beginning. And we talked then. Movie started afterwards. We're talking, and he was so great. Like about a month after that, he was doing a big charity event for the Sidewalk Angels out in Las Vegas. He's like, come on in. And it was like, it was crazy. We flew out to that, never do anything like that. It's like, I'm feeling pretty good. Let's go. So my wife and I went and went to the show, and, he sets us up, and we're sitting like literally right in front of everybody else on the side with Andre Agassi and Steffi, Graf, his wife. They're good buddies. And I'm looking at my wife. I'm like, this is freaking. Can you believe this? This is unbelievable. And we've been pals ever since. And they were on tour this summer. So I saw them at the Hollywood Bowl when they played. But then I took my younger son. We were coming back from Toronto, where my wife is from, and I was like, hey, they're playing in Pittsburgh. Come on, it'll be your first concert. We can like hang out. It'll be fun, blah, blah, blah. Like I can't do that with anybody, like no other band in the world. So, so this summer we did, I took my younger son, and we go, and we're, like hanging around backstage and then watching the show and the whole bit. That was Pittsburgh. And then the Toledo one was just me. I was like, well, I'm not going to get this. They're not going, this is it. This will be my last shot. I was working, doing something on the East Coast, and on the way back I stopped there for see him in that show, and obviously I've gotten to meet the other guys in the band, but we were texting last night, as a matter of fact.
Really? How cool.
They're going on tour to Australia and New Zealand in a couple of days, so.
Oh wow. Yeah, I love that he does all the animal stuff too.
Yeah, I mean that's their big thing, and I'm sure they raise a lot of money for it. He's always seemingly doing like, you guys are always working. It's crazy. If it's not like the thing, the New York City, like NBC had a big light the Christmas tree. He's there singing Sidewalk Angel stuff. He's always giving concerts. But there you go. That's the short answer.
Yeah. Love it. Yes. Well, I'm glad that we connected. I mean, whenever I saw that was their last one for the United States or whatever, it was the very last one. I was like, I'm going. I needed some kind of shift in my own personal situation. But I know that Craig is a big Office fan on the English side, and somehow I got them to come over a little bit to the American Office. Yeah. But your background.
Oh, did they do a spin-off in England after the American show?
Don't let them hear you say that.
Yeah, it was like a bit American popular. Idol and everything else. Yeah.
Exactly. No, so I was 17 or sort of 16, 17 when the UK Office, the original one came out. And
the good one.
Yeah. It literally shaped my later teenage years. It was just, when something is just so hilarious and it's so subtle. And that's what I love about the Office humor, is everybody knows someone who can relate to each one of the characters, like that sort of observational humor. It's just perfect. And obviously I've your character in the Office is fairly straight and narrow, but in a hilarious way. It's to me, it's just perfect comedy, because you can have slapstick and all this sort of stuff, but when it's just fairly normal, but observing the crazy things we humans do in a normal situation. It's just perfect. It's brilliant. Something I've always thought is like off sort of camera or in between scenes and things, like it must be hilarious. Like, how do you keep a straight face? How do you get through scenes? Because I'd just be laughing constantly.
I definitely would laugh constantly. Actually, I mean, it's hard not to do that with your opposite, Steve Carell.
Yeah.
I mean, I could, it's him, Will Ferrell. It's like it's a handful of guys that are just extra. Melissa McCarthy, that are Kristen Wiig. So yeah, I would constantly break up, and I would so I say, hey, come on, because at the time, like I had stopped acting, it wasn't going well, and I was just like focused. I was working at Merrill Lynch as a stockbroker, as a financial advisor, and I was 4+ years into that when I got my lucky phone call from Allison Jones, the casting woman for The Office, my patron saint, I call her, and so I would always say, hey, come on, guys, I'm just a stockbroker. What do you expect? What do you expect? Because they'd say, come on, Buckley, try and keep it together. Because yes, I would just burst out laughing. And throughout the day, you're just around funny people, and it's just a fun environment. So you're having a good time and you're laughing. But specifically in the scenes, yeah, they did 7 or 8 takes. I probably laughed in at least 4 or 5 of them, and so they're limited what they were able to use for me.
That's what I love about watching sort of the outtakes, and just the bloopers, because of the UK office and the US office. It's just like when people break character, they can't get through a scene because it's that funny. They can't keep a straight
Oh
face.
yeah,
It's brilliant to watch. It's brilliant.
And and I didn't actually get to meet Ricky Gervais. I met Stephen Merchant a couple of times. He directed a couple of episodes, and
Right. Yeah.
not that I was in, but I made a point of going over and meeting, like driving over and say, can I, and meeting him. One of these days I'll meet Ricky. Who knows? Maybe. I got to thank him for creating the show, for ultimately creating the job. But yeah, it was very hard to keep a straight. But the hardest, I think that I was there. Anybody ever laughed? And it was because it was a combination of people. There's a scene, I think it was the 7th season, where Steve thinks that Jim is trying to get his job. So I'm in the conference room with Jim, and we're talking, and Steve's out there, and he's like, what's Krasinski doing? And so he gets Ed Helms to wheel in a cheese cart, and he's hiding under the cheese cart. And Ed is, I mean, that was kind of the first time I think that might have been the first time I was ever really in like a significant scene with Ed, and I realized just how funny he was, because he had everybody going laughing for almost an hour. They couldn't keep it together. It would be like you'd see Steve underneath, he'd be shaking because he'd be laughing, but and then the cart would shake, or I'd laugh, or John, or camera guys, or sound guys, or the director, whatever it was, it would just, we'd have to stop the scene and go back, and it was because Ed was just so funny. The Wisconsin cheddar, whatever he was talking about.
Because he really goes into in-depth detail about this cheese that's on this table, and obviously he's underneath.
And it's all just like cheese whiz, he made it sound like the greatest brie from France, or whatever.
Yeah. And then what I love about that is then obviously he sort of wheels it back out with his hands, and then he sort of steps out and turns as if like it was completely normal. It's a brilliant scene.
Exactly. Yeah.
One of my favorites is the whole suck it situation, and my dog is barking like crazy. But
there you go.
The actual inventor of suck it.
There it is.
I should be wearing the suck it sweatshirt. There we go. That was man, oh man, that's what college kids yell, like in airports and something like that. If I'm walking along and they happen to recognize me or whatever, suck it. which is a ton of fun.
That's brilliant.
That's what I should put on my new business card. I have these business cards that I give out. I don't know if you can see that.
Dunder Mifflin paper. Brilliant, David Wallace. I'd love to have one of them.
It's so funny, like, same thing, college kids or, wherever. And I say, hey, you want to get in the paper business, call us. And there's no phone number. I should put on there inventor of Suck It.
Yes.
Well, how sad
would be
was it
funny.
when it was over, though? Did you guys like grieve? Like, did you feel like it's like a death a little bit? I mean, I'm sad that it's over and I'm not even doing it.
Mm.
Yeah. It's funny, that Suck It episode, that was a bit of a grieving moment because that was like my last episode and I didn't know if I was ever coming back or whatever. They're like, that's it, but luckily they called me back, but for about a year and a half. And how you find out on how I happen to find out about this. Sometimes, I mean, there's different ways, I guess, but you do a thing called a table read. So if we're filming, so what they said, whatever day, middle of the week, you're starting an episode next Monday, that Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday at lunch, they'll read that next week's episode that they're going to be filming. And so it's pretty much most of the actors, and then around the big table is like all the writers and camera guys and sound people, etc. Notes, all right, we need a location, or all right, we're gonna need props, we're gonna need a giant, it's Valentine's Day, Phyllis has gotten another giant teddy bear from Bob Vance Refrigeration. You gotta always say it. And things like that. So anyway, the table read for that is like, wait a second, am I done? Am I gone? Is this it? Is this my last episode? This for a while. We're gonna bring it back at some point. We just don't know when or how. But don't worry, Buckley. But yeah, you're gone for a while. Like, oh no.
Yeah.
Are they just saying they'll bring me back? They won't. And luckily they did. But then, yes, yeah, when it ended, it was definitely sad. Definitely sad. And it's insane how it's just like lived on and I guess thanks to Netflix and then when people were home a lot in the last few years, the whole world is watching. And it was funny because the first season we did this show in the UK, in London, in Watford. Craig, we was filming at Leavesden, up near Watford.
Miles down south to me.
My accent's horrible. I was constantly, they always say, hey, it's great. You sound like Dick Van Dyke, which I guess his accent was historically like the worst of any.
The worst London accent imaginable, yeah.
In any movie. Such a caricature. But it was, so like maybe once every couple of weeks in 2019, I'd be, someone would say, oh, hey, what do you got? You got an office? I'm like, yeah. And then, after everybody was home for a while, that's all they're doing is watching The Office. So when we filmed the next season in 2021, it was like a couple times a week. It was just like a much more record. People had watched and like, that's that guy. That's Michael Scott's boss. And it's just great. It keeps on going. It's just crazy.
And when Michael leaves after you go, Teddy's doing his thing and you're doing your thing, and then Michael gets in the car and he's like, "That's not the David Wallace I know." he's like, "I'm out of here."
Some sort of weird something that's taken over my David Wallace's body, something like that. Nuts. No, I mean that was. It's so funny. I'm like one of the luckiest guys on the planet that was. That I got to do the whole show.
Yeah. Do you keep in contact with them, or do you have like gatherings like every now and then or anything like that, or does that happen? I don't know.
No, I email the writers every day saying, "Can we please bring it back?" No, please. My kids, no, they need to eat. No, I see Kate Flannery, aka Meredith Palmer.
Mhm.
I guess we live in the same kind of basic neighborhood, so I bump into her, or I keep in touch with her consistently. And then Kevin Malone, our top accountant, Baumgartner, I see him around often. It's like at charity golf events is when I'll see him the most. And then it's actually been fun. They've had a couple of I used to see Steve pretty consistently because his our kids were at the same elementary school, and then his kids moved, like went on to a different school, and my kids are still there because they're not very smart. No, I'm kidding. They keep getting held back. Um, but and you'll sort of see something. I bumped into Mindy a couple of months ago, like somewhere, and you chat for a couple of minutes. But they've had these two conventions. This lovely guy, Arnold Cuervo down in Miami, hosts these. He puts on these big conventions, these specifically office con type conventions.
Wow.
There was one in New Jersey a couple of years ago, and last year it was in Chicago, and it was crazy. Rain was at the one in Chicago, and I mean there must have been 10,000 people there that day. It was nuts.
Wow.
He was only there the first day. And then there are always 2 days. The next one is in Miami in July, and but between a couple of days there's like 4,000 or 5,000 people each day, and unless Rain is there, or I'm sure he'll get a couple other. I mean, Ed wasn't there, or Jim and Pam, like the big five, as you might say. He hasn't gotten them yet, but I think he's
Well,
hopeful he's going to get
speaking
one of them this next one.
speaking of Rain, though, like as funny as he is, he's kind of deep too, isn't he? Kind of like philosophical, kind of like he's really smart, dude.
Yeah, very, very much so. Soul Boom, that's his book, right? The latest, I think he's had a couple of books, but yeah, he had the website Soul Pancake, which I'm not sure if he's still a part of. I know he sold it a while back, but I assume he's probably still a part of it. Yeah, I love that. I don't know if you guys saw that he had I think it was a Netflix thing. The Art of Happiness, or How to Be Who's Happy. It was a show he did where he traveled around the world, finding people that are happy, and what's the key to their happiness. Well, whether it's like the Buddhist monks, or, some Maori Indian tribe somewhere in, I think that's Australia. Or, a group of women that go plunging in the cold Manchester Sea, up in, in Manchester, just kind of all over, and why and what, or, or some tennis pro out in Palm Springs, why is this guy happy? Because it's a sort of and it was great. I didn't see all the episodes, but the few I saw were terrific.
I had no idea.
But
I'll have
yeah,
to go check it out. But speaking
I'm
of
pretty sure it was
happy,
Netflix.
what's that?
Yeah.
Oh,
No, I was just I'm pretty sure it was Netflix, and I know Happiness is in the title. I
I'll
forget the
definitely
exact title.
I'll definitely look it up. Speaking of happy though, I mean that's kind of how I bumped into, not physically bumped into you, but that's how we connected, is music. And I know music is a big thing for you. Golf is apparently a thing, and you've mentioned that a couple times, and I know you're headed that way. With everything, all the changes in the world, and just you reached out about my grandmother and different deaths, and just a lot of people are going through a lot of loss, a lot of sickness, a lot of different strange things that are kind of happening everywhere. And like, what do you do? Like, what's your outlet? How do you, because comedy is huge for me, music. And I know Craig's actually a musician. I've written music for years and actually had some on the radio, and that kind of went down that avenue for a little bit. But animals is a big thing for me. I've fostered 101 animals. That's kind of keeps me grounded a little bit too. But like, what do you do personally?
I've gotten out of my eating habit because I got comfort eating. I got to get myself back in shape. Gained a couple of pounds, but yeah. I mean, it's funny. Yes, golf is great. I don't really play it all that much. I mostly save it for charity events these days, or if my older son wants to go play. That's I always do that because he doesn't really want to do anything else with me. So once a month we'll get to do that. And it's funny. Yeah, I'm a huge. I have a great friend out of West Texas. And I was always a music fan, but he's like a maniacal music fan. Neither of us are musicians. I mean, I know about 5 chords on the piano, and which is wild because you can sit there even only knowing like 5 chords and keep yourself entertained and just play, and it's just the greatest feeling ever. And again, I don't do that all that much. I wish I did that more. But yeah, so he introduced me to all like the West Texas music out of like Joe Ely. I don't know if you guys know these guys like Joe Ely and Terry Allen and this guy Robert Earl Keen, and they're all these like West Texas rock and rollers, as opposed to like a Nashville country sound. There, the Texas, West Texas country sound, and through them, through Barry, that's his Barry Tubb. He was an actor. He was in like Top Gun, and he was Wolfman, and the
Oh
Lonesome Dove
yeah.
miniseries, and bunch of stuff. Like he was the guy in the cowboy hat in the original one years ago. And so through him, I met a couple of my good pals who are Texas musicians, songwriters. Bruce Robison, and I just love listening to his music. And sadly his brother Charlie, who was like a great entertainer, would sell out a couple thousand seat places all throughout Texas and was just a ton of fun. He unfortunately passed away this past year.
Oh.
Um, but they both great pals of mine. And Bruce is the guy, I don't know if you know that beautiful Dixie Chick song Traveling Soldier. He wrote that, and he wrote some other songs that like George Strait did a couple of his songs and they became #1 songs. And Tim McGraw had this song called Angry All the Time. This is probably going back like 10 years when he like in this course of 3 or 4 years, he had 4 #1 songs that he had written. And it was funny because he had written them 10 years before.
Oh.
It's just like the everlasting nature of what music can be. So I that whole West Texas world I was introduced to. But it's yeah, I mean I'll sit on a plane. If I'm on like a plane, whether it's 2-hour plane ride or 6-hour plane ride, I'm just listening to music the whole time. Maybe I'll watch one. If it's a super long ride, I'll watch a movie or something like that. But and you just listen as you're doing some work, and it's a whole. It could be the band, it could be early Rod Stewart, it could be I got Rob and Matchbox in there, and a whole variety of things. And then my younger son introduces me to like newer people. Yeah, he's probably the one that introduced me to Post Malone. We were talking about that, we're texting about that, and it's that's one great way that can just totally change your whole mood, your whole
Yeah.
Outlook on the day.
100%.
And then it's crazy. Then you get songs like Eye of the Tiger. Like when I was golfing in high school, Rocky 3, Eye of the Tiger, that was like my motivation song that got me, pumped up. And there's obviously countless other songs like that, like Over Here, like I don't know if they probably don't have that in I think you call it soccer over there. Walk up songs.
Actually, you call it
but
soccer,
like,
we call it football.
No, I know. I'm kidding. But yeah, baseball players have their walk up songs like to pump them up before they, go to bat. I don't know if, or, got boxers walking out into the ring, or I don't know if UFC people have that. But
So
it's,
what's your
yeah.
pump up song? Eye of the Tiger? That's it?
I guess it's no, you know what it is now? It's Street Corner Symphony, the opening that's sort of thing that gets me going. That's one of them, I guess. Um and but yeah, I guess it'll always be Eye of the Tiger always works also.
Yeah. So I'd love to ask, if you don't
Go ahead.
mind.
Yep.
So it's no secret that things are somewhat intense in the world, and certainly has been for the past several years. You know, whether it be politically, and things are happening as we speak that aren't great. What role do you see
Yep.
that sort of arts and entertainment and music has in keeping people sane, keeping people grounded, and keeping people in a good place?
Well, I think the beauty of comedy, is definitely just it can lighten you up and keep you laughing, and um whether it's the craziness of international things or just the craziness of domestic things or just the craziness of your own life. And obviously we're dealing with the significant things, Sharnael, and comedy just can keep you laughing, and it's easy, and it's generally 22 minutes or whatever. And you can you can binge watch these things, so you can sit there for a couple hours and watch. Which I have trouble doing that. I no more than I can't do more than 3 episodes. But you so I think that's a huge part. And obviously musically, I think you can uh I mean, my goodness, like one song, "We Are the World." There you go. Like, and can like
Yeah.
kind of change the world in a way, at least for a while. But then just the beauty of music just in general can just, as whether in a big scale, change everything. um and and is it I mean, I guess, I mean, some artists, I mean, I don't know if I quite consider myself an artist, but um but like some real significant artists, I guess. um I think like they feel like they want to, I think a lot of them feel like they want to do something to have an impact in the world,
Mm.
um and what's going on, and voice their opinion, or how they feel about it.
And when you're sort of acting with other actors, is there a sense of, I don't know, mission or calling to do that, or is it just a career to most people and it's a way to make money? Or I'm curious, what's the sort of the mentality amongst sort of actors and artists that you've associated with?
um the ones that I've um kind of the ones that I've like worked with, I don't know that they I mean, you have your folks like Tim Robbins, just I mean, he's not really acting much anymore. I think he's doing a little bit, but he's very politically active, and has been since he was in his 20s. Before anybody knew him, he had a theater group that was very politically uh motivated. I forget what it was called, but so you have people like that like from the get-go, that's their uh motivation. And then you just have people, I mean, for the most part, the ones that I've tended to work with are just more on this side of like, they're just, this is what they love to do, and they're funny, or they're terrific dramatic actors. um Generally it's funny, and they have thoughts about things, opinions about things. They don't necessarily feel they have to you
Talk
know
about it.
get get it out there, or talk about it, or
Yeah.
put it
Yeah.
in their work. Some do, some do, and I think it's, but I think it's somehow, I think it's less than the Tim Robbins sides of the world, I think.
Mm.
At least the ones I've worked with.
Well, it's weird how triggered people get too, even if you do have a thought to say. I mean, I've seen some stuff on your Instagram. It's like, you guys, like, calm down. Like, people can still, just because you have a job doesn't mean you don't have an opinion about your passion. And I think sometimes people like all the canceling and, oh, this person, it's like just let people say what they want to say and express what they want to express. And why is there so much weirdness about, you
We
know,
don't have to agree on everything.
so
It's okay.
polarized, you know?
It's
But
okay.
It's really wild how, yeah, and I know some people say it's the whole social media aspect that, allows it to become so polarizing, as opposed to if you didn't have that,
yeah,
because it's just so easy to sit there and type something in an impulsive moment. But yeah, not a lot of not as much dialogue happening as maybe there used to be, or ideally there would be. But
do you think like Steve Carell, for example, or I don't know, anybody really, is you seem kind of like your character in a way. Like you seem like, I mean, obviously you're not an accountant and running Dunder and Mifflin or whatever, you know, the regional branch or whatever, but like as a person, you just seem like you're funny anyway, like normal. Like, are these guys like putting on and just reading the script, or are they actually just normally funny and just that's their character, that's their actual personality, you know?
well, with Steve, it's definitely, I mean, that's not his character. I mean, with everybody, really, everybody's acting in it. Rain is not Dwight. It's funny you meet him. He's like shockingly kind and sweet. Um, and funny, he's very a lot of the cast, which is kind of unusual. A lot of the cast is really tall. Like he's about
Yeah,
six
you're
three, six
tall.
four. Brzezinski's that tall. I'm reasonably tall. Todd Packer, Craig Robinson. Like there's a bunch of, Brian Baumgart's, like a lot of, 6'2", 6'3", or more folks on the show. But they're all, everybody's acting to a degree, so, everybody's definitely acting. Steve, you meet him, he's just like a mild manner. He's just a very nice guy, as normal as they come. And, and obviously same with, with Dwight, with Rain, lovely, normal guy. So there's a lot of acting. I think, yeah, it's funny. I mean, yeah, and maybe it's Adam, I'm sure Rain, and so it's heightened quite a bit like Creed. It's heightened. They have it in them somewhere to sort of have these, to be that person. And so it's them, on steroids type of thing, you might say. But it's not, Rain is nothing like Dwight. Um, so, but trying to think of any. It's me. I mean, it is. Yeah, I'm just kind of playing myself.
So okay, so
I'm just like,
what if, for example, you had, not you, but someone who's in a comedy, had an argument with their spouse or with a child, come into the workplace in a bad mood, and you've got to go and act in a comedy. How does that feel? I mean, what do you do?
um, you gotta just like be able to sort of shake it off
Right.
and shift into, work mode. It'd be the same thing if somebody, is a lawyer and they have to present something, or
Mm.
in a court, or deal with their clients, even not in court, or doctor, or plumber's got to go in and he's got to talk to somebody who's got a problem, with the pipes, whatever it is. You have to sort of be able to just shake it off and shift um, into that mode, into get into work mode.
Hmm.
Um,
Just like everything and everybody, you gotta
I guess
acting,
just, yeah,
right? Maybe we're all
yeah.
acting on some
We
level.
all wear masks.
Funny, I remember I saw some interview with Marlon Brando saying that he was talking about like how everybody's acting all the time. So the thing from years ago, I think it was with Dick Cavett. Um, and yeah, I mean, that's what he was kind of saying. He says, everybody's acting all the time. He says, we're, we, you someone to this person, you're someone to that person. As you said, you're having some problem at home, but yet you got to sit there and talk to patients or talk to clients or talk to someone, whatever it is. You're working at a restaurant, you got to deal with the people that you're serving, and be pleasant and all that stuff. It's so we're always putting on some different face.
Well, talk to us a little bit about what you're doing now. And I mean, I know I have a whole list of things, Jurassic Park and, there's so many things that you've been in since The Office, but currently you're working and doing some things, and share a little bit about that.
Yeah, and it's really funny. Half the jobs I get, it's because the people who are doing the hiring are Office fans. Colin Trevorrow from Jurassic World, he's a huge Office fan. He's like, hey, let's get him. We can talk to him about The Office.
I think I saw an interview with you actually. Sorry, just to jump in, at the premiere to Jurassic World, and you were just like, I don't know why I'm here.
Yeah, no, it was great. I mean, there've been a number of things like that. Even the one that I'm getting to do now, which is a fun Netflix show with Arnold Schwarzenegger is the star, and a bunch of other people. And but the guy that created that, the guy named Nick Santora, magnificent guy. He had done a show called Scorpion on CBS for a bunch of years, and I was on that for, I don't know, 10, 11 times over the course of the years. And the first time I was there, he's like, do you know why you're here? I'm like, no, I said I might know someone. And he said, no, you probably don't know anybody. No, I'm just a huge Office fan, and I wanted to talk to you about The Office. And it was just it's the gift that keeps on giving, as I say. And then this is his new show, Nick's new show, so it's lovely of him to use me again. But yeah, it's very fun. I'm not, I'm in there just a couple minutes each week or thereabouts. Arnold is a retiring CIA operative, and he divorced his wife, who the love of his life, and he wants to win her back. But he had to, do that because she was like, "What's going on? You're always disappearing in the middle of the night." And I'm just like the nice guy, who's dating his ex-wife. So my days are numbered, I'm sure. I'll eventually they'll be like, "What? You're done." Boom, I'm out, and off they go into the sunset.
To get a staged punch from Arnold, that would be amazing.
That's what I'm hoping happens just a couple of years from now. Get a couple of seasons out of it.
My dad is obsessed with the show. He's always talking about it. He loves the show. I have to admit, I haven't seen it yet. I've seen a lot of stuff he sent me, but now I'm going to have to watch it. So there you go.
Yeah, no, it's fun. It's it's lighthearted. It's fun. You got some action in there, a little intrigue, etc. But it's it doesn't take itself too seriously, and it's funny. It's that's there's a lot of funny people in there. Because some you'd recognize, some you wouldn't necessarily, and or you might. I don't know. Depends how much TV and movies you watch. But Jay Baruchel, who you'd recognize from all the Seth Rogen movies and Jonah Hill, and he's part of that whole group, and he's the voice of Hiccup in the How to Train Your Dragon movies.
Yeah.
Fortune Feimster, the big stand-up, and then a bunch of other people, but they're probably the two most known. But it's great, I mean, obviously aside from Arnold, who couldn't be a nicer guy, and very approachable. And he'd be like, "Hey," and you start talking about something, he's open to talking about anything. And big chess player.
Really?
So you gotta bone up on your chest if you're gonna try and challenge him.
Interesting. So who I just have a couple of questions, and I know because you got to go and you have your stuff going on, but number one, what actor do you like hang out with the most? Like that you were like buds with, that you kind of like, just, you guys just get along and you talk the most with?
Um, that's funny. I mean, I guess well, my buddy from Texas, I talk to him a lot, or I text with him a bunch, but he doesn't act anymore. That guy Barry Tubb. Um, I guess I check in with Kate Flannery a fair amount. Not that I don't really hang out with anybody.
I know the feeling.
And I mean, it's funny. One of my, not an actor, but one of my you know favorite people is Wendy. Since we're talking music, Wendy Melvoin, who was Wendy and Prince's Wendy and Lisa. Um, the we met them. Our kids were in the same kindergarten together, and I just started talking to Wendy, and then we've just become great pals since then. But not that she's an actor, but I think she was in a couple of movies, like doing little things. But I mean, just speaking of great musicians, and who else? I'm trying to think who else. I mean, I guess I see. I mean, not that I hang out. Same thing. I'll see Kevin every, Brian Baumgartner every 3 or 4 months at these charity golf events. But it's funny. I don't know. I'm just like a guy that hangs around the house. I don't really go out much.
Me too.
You mean you're a normal human being?
I think the older I get, the more I realize I only have like a couple really good friends. It's like I know people, but like people that I talk to or that I would want to come over or go get a drink with or something, it's kind of a short list. But I didn't know if there's like anyone that sticks out to you that's just like, this is my person that I would call if something happened, or that kind of deal.
Well, I guess. I mean, it's funny. I guess I see him a lot more than most. But this guy Brad Pitt, he's over here all the time. He's just constantly hanging around. I
Well,
can't
actually,
shake him.
seen
He's always wanting to hang out. It's like, hey, Brad, come on, back off, back off.
Yeah.
I don't have time.
I'm actually, my claim to fame is I've been pushed over by Daniel Day-Lewis. That is a true fact, and it's on camera because I was an extra in The Phantom Thread with which I didn't watch the film, but anyway, yeah. So there was a ballroom scene, like a New Year's Eve scene, and it was a big party. And Daniel Day-Lewis makes his way through the crowd, and he pushes me out the way, and I'm on it for about 5 seconds on film. So I have been in a Hollywood film, and I'm a little bit disappointed.
I'm now going to watch it.
The premiere, but never mind.
Well, it was so believable. They probably thought he must still be in the hospital from that push. He couldn't make the premiere.
Probably.
So funny. If you could have like a dream role, like what kind of film would you want to be in? Would it be comedy, or would it be like something really serious, or like what would be your dream like role?
It's funny. I really loved. I was really fantastic to get to do this at the one on Avenue 5. That was a blast. I think if there was one, it would probably be a comedy about a paper company where I could be the CFO. That would be
That
it.
sounds like a fun
That's a
one.
good idea. That'd work. It'd work.
I think it would work.
I think I don't know if they would want to make it these days. Yeah, I mean, it's funny. I've gotten to do like a bunch of,
007 or any kind of like stuff like that, something like that, where you're like the hero, good guy, or nothing like that. No dreams.
I mean, it would be a blast to get to do that. Yeah, where you're just like the regular guy who ends up being like the hero and maybe beats the heck out of a couple of people. Gets the final punch. I said, go away. Boom. Like that's not even a cool line. Go away.
I said, go away.
Yeah, it's a terrible catchphrase. Clean up on aisle
It'd
5.
work though. It'd work in a comedy.
I said, go away. That's so funny.
But so yeah, I mean, everybody wants to do, I guess, be some action star, but
Yeah,
I have
John
to really get in shape for that.
definitely made that jump, like he's done a couple crazy, action stuff and you were like, wait a minute, isn't that the guy from The Office? Like, how did that happen? But always,
Yeah, and it's wild if you go back and I mean, people have things to do, but if you go back and you look at like the last couple of seasons, you sort of see like under his clothes, like, oh yeah, he's getting in shape, like his because he did the 13 hours, I think, was the first sort of big action thing that he did, which ultimately is probably the thing that led to Jack Ryan. And there you go, Krasinski, another tall guy.
yeah, right.
Um,
All you
the
guys, all y'all tall people. Craig's tall
the
too.
huh?
Craig's
I'm
tall
9 foot.
too.
I'm 9 foot tall.
No, you're not.
That's what I've heard. Yeah,
No,
Walker, the 9 foot tall guy,
no.
I
the
mean,
guy
what
from
I love
right near
actually,
Manchester.
yeah, yeah, I'm tiny in Manchester. Everyone's at least 10 foot. One thing I was just thinking about is like even some of these not necessarily smaller roles, but I was just thinking about how I can't actually remember his name, but Tim in the UK office ended up becoming Bilbo in the Hobbit films.
Oh, that's
Like
right.
how these
Oh
sort of
yeah.
semi-minor roles can just lead to such huge opportunities. I mean, the world's anything's possible really once your foot's in the door, isn't it?
It's really wild. Like it's crazy. Because and that's sort of thing. I mean, I was referenced. I was working at Merrill Lynch, like I was there, and it wasn't getting to be on The Office the first few years that I was on it. Didn't really. I mean, first time I worked a half a day. That was in 2006, 2007. I think I worked like 5 half days. Um, but then when they started using me a lot in 2008 and 9, like seasons 5 and 6, it was crazy because I was getting all kinds of opportunities to audition for all kinds of things, and some of which I got hired for and some I didn't. And I got partners at Merrill Lynch to sort of look after, like, hey, can you watch the clients? I may get to have an acting career. And but it's great. And I mean, especially if you're in something that is popular, that like the people are seeing, and they're like, oh, that guy, and it's really wild. You ask about like people's or the acting, or is it their personality? I think your essence really comes through.
Mhm.
There's like the essence of the actor really comes through, and it's kind of interesting too, because like you see when you watch like on YouTube, you can watch auditions for The Office, for example. And there's Eric Stone Street from Modern Family, and he's auditioning for Kevin, and Bob Odenkirk, auditioning for Michael Scott. All these things, like you get their essence, and you sort of see, they're great, and that's why they ended up on Parks and Rec, or that's why they ended up Martin, whatever it was. But they're not right for this part. They weren't right for the gym part. Adam Scott, to pick one guy who was, yeah, he's not right for it. And but then you sort of see, like, you get their essence, and I think that really sort of shines through. And so if you're looking for, that essence, like, oh, that guy, like in my case, like, we need a nice guy husband, a nice guy boss, who's somewhere in his 50s,
Yeah, you
deep
got a
into his
birthday
50s.
coming up, don't you?
I know. Oh yes.
Us old
Um,
people.
Mine's six
us
days
old
after
people.
yours.
Well, an early happy birthday.
And happy birthday to you, sir. Yeah.
You
So
too.
Thank you.
just along those lines, it's just a thought. So if you go for an audition and you don't get hired, it's not necessarily a reflection on your ability. It's just whether you're right for the role, I guess. So you can't take it personally, can you?
No, and that's a big thing in for young, and whatever, young actors out there, or old actors out there.
Mm.
It's really true, and you see it, like Bryan Cranston, and it's like a little thing on Instagram. He talks about it, and Michael Keaton, there's one of him talking about it, and somewhere there's one of Meryl Streep talking about it. and it's that whole thing of like, it's your job is you go in and you give your interpretation, how you see it. And if they say, hey, try it this way, try it that way, that's great. But give all of yourself, and like the audition is, Michael Keaton was saying, that's the job, or Cranston, one of them, like, that's the job. Like, you go in and you do it. And then if they hire you, great. If they don't, on to the next. But it's really wild because my wife and I, we made one little independent movie like 20 years ago that led to my career at Merrill Lynch. And but we, it was wild. We were on the other side of the audition table, and some terrific actors came in to audition for this, and it was really wild because like right away, literally, they always say this in the books, or people will say this, like, within 10 seconds, like literally within 10 seconds,
Right.
if a person is the part or not. Like, that's not them. But you also remember the great auditions. Like, I remember 4 or 5 people from 20 years ago. Like, man, they were great. We didn't hire them, because they weren't the part. But it's wild. Like, you do remember that, and you always think, nah, it's no. Like, the cynical side of you is like, it's not true. But having literally just done it once, it's like, oh yeah, that's true. And so, you got to go in there and just give it your all, and it's just a numbers game. And
Not take it
if
personal.
you keep at it,
Yeah.
you don't take it personal, because they're just they hope that you walk in as the person,
Right.
you know?
Right.
So, but yeah, it's not, yeah, you can't take it personally,
Well,
which is hard, hard to not do,
yeah, I
hard
mean,
to
in
do it.
life in general, there's so much rejection. It's like, you hear about the people who just quit because
Just
they're
wasn't
not the
perfect.
person over and over and over again. And then it's like, maybe this isn't for me. But, maybe it's
There
just
could be one audition away from that
one
dream role.
one person away. Yeah.
Which is really crazy. I mean, that's the crazy thing. Like, I hadn't acted in 4 years, and I was, hadn't auditioned in 4 years, or and it's not like I had done a ton of it. I'd only done a little bit of it, and then it just the
It just
CFO
happened.
was the right part,
Yeah.
and it was
Well,
the stars aligned for me.
as we align and or wrap up on this interview, like, if you could give a message to the world, like, what what is your what would you want people to know in order to, like, calm down or uh find themselves, or I don't know, like, I don't even know what I'm trying to say, but just,
Yeah, no, I mean,
you know,
well, since we were talking music, the power of music, listen to more music. But I mean, it's so, and I mean, I'm Irish. I get that Irish temper, that you hear about. Um, but it's I guess the kinder we can be to ourselves allows us to be kinder to the rest of the world. Um,
Just get that on a t-shirt.
which is easy, yeah, that's a
so,
good one.
so not suck it.
Well, it's a mess. What a mess. What you gonna do? You're gonna take out your suck it and your suck it. Yeah. Teddy.
Yeah.
Always gonna be Teddy.
It was funny when I saw on your Instagram that you posted like the actual real invention and the real inventor. I didn't even know it was a real thing. I was like,
It's
"What?"
crazy. Yeah, yeah, and it was yeah, they're nice. They like sent me a thing about it, I don't know, a year and a half ago or something like that. And then yeah, they got on Shark Tank, and it was it's like, I hope the thing takes off. It's it's pretty cool, for like young kids to pick up their, you know, generally Lego pieces, but and any little toy they have and all that. It's the thing seems amazing. I think somehow like it's not, they can't like use the word Lego or something like that in any of their marketing, because
Right.
they're not officially
Copyright.
connected. But
Yeah.
I can. I'm
Yes.
just a guy. I got nothing to do with it. But yeah, isn't that funny?
Very
Yeah, and yeah, what Mark Cuban and uh, I there's another one of the Sharks is they're involved, and I'm sure we'll be buying those things at Target soon enough, or online, or however people are shopping these days.
Yes. Yes. Well, we are very, very appreciative of your time and very thankful. And I hope,
This was really fun. Thank you for. I gotta do a screenshot picture here.
oh,
I gotta,
okay.
Oh, look your best, Sharnael. Look your best.
look your best.
Okay. Oh dear.
Woo! No, this is great. Thank you. Thank you
Yes.
very much
Well,
for having me.
Super on. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
give our love to Nancy and all the stuff and all the things you're doing and
Arnold.
just abundance and
And Arnold.
good vibes and everything. And I'm sure I'll see you around Instagram and wherever you're posting. And I'm going to check out the show and just, again, have fun golfing. I hope you get to go see Hardy. I know you might not, but it's definitely worth it.
That would, yeah, no, thank you. Yeah, that'll be
I
a hoot.
didn't, I didn't, so Hardy's from around here. He's like a couple hours away. And he used to be country and he's written for like a ton of country people. But I went to see Morgan Wallen and he opened up for him and he did a few things. And I know a lot of people that know him. I haven't actually met him. But when he came out, he did this like heavy metal stuff, but it's like heavy metal country. And I was like,
Oh,
I don't actually like heavy metal. And I didn't know I liked heavy metal. I mean, Craig's a heavy metal person, and but it was a weird combination. He does like rap and he does like heavy metal and he does country and he gets, I don't know how he does it, but I was like, wow, I needed this in my life and I didn't even know it. And it's just been like really interesting. But here I am, a Hardy fan, and he's like my favorite. So if you get to go, you might be pleasantly surprised about just how his show is. He embodies like every syllable. That's what I love about Rob. Is Rob like, you know how he is like his
yeah,
whole
yeah.
body takes over each syllable that he enunciates, and it's like he lives the music. And same thing with Artie, man. It's like, whoa, I want to go back again and see that. So if you get to go great. If you're not, have fun golfing. I hope you win. I don't know
Thank
anything
you. No,
about golf,
I will. Yeah,
but
it's gonna be great. I'm an old golf nerd.
uh,
3 Days Grace. What do you think, Craig? You know those guys? 3 Days Grace. Are they
3 Days
heavy? They
Grace.
considered a heavy metal band?
Not off the top of my head, but go on. Do you know that? You know
Well,
them,
you
do
can
you?
look them up, man. You can
I
look
will
them up.
look
My
them up.
younger son, turned me on to them. I think that, yeah, that's what they're called, and they
3
were
Days
awesome.
Grace. I'll check them
And
out. I will.
that's one of his, or maybe they're just like a hard rock band. I don't know what they're considered, but it
Is
leaned
there
in that
screaming
direction.
involved? Any screaming and shouting involved, and it's fairly heavy.
I think there's a little bit of that. Yeah,
Okay, I'll give it.
definitely
A try.
so.
well, thank you again. And again, just for your time. And you're so kind. You're just a good person. Like I get that from your essence. And, like I was telling some friends, I was like, during like just the weird, bizarre things that have happened in January, like it was weird how like I had true people that I thought were friends, like complete crickets. And then I had complete strangers who like reached out and were like, hey, so sorry. And you were one of those people that were just like, hey, I saw this on Instagram. I'm so sorry about your grandma or your mother-in-law or your niece or, whatever. I was like, God,
Yeah,
that's just
it's
freaking
a
nice.
hard
Like,
January.
that's super, super nice of you. And you're just a good guy. And I wish you the best. And I know Craig feels the same way now that he's gotten to talk to you a little bit. And have a great year and a great birthday. And we'll see you around.
Wish you every success.
February 19th, Craig. Back at you, baby.
And you, 13th. That's it. I'll send
There
you a
we
message.
go.
Awesome.
Well, you guys have a great year as well, and we'll be messaging on the IG.
Yes. All right.
IG.
Thanks a lot. Bye.
Thank you. See you again. Bye-bye.
See you, gang. Thank you very much. Thanks, Craig. Thanks,
Thank
Sharnael.
you.